Now, why we need to stop is because in many ways, when we judge other people, we're forgetting one of the most important things that I think we need to think about. And that's what I call the torment of life. Life is so difficult in many ways. And I know for some people, they will judge me for saying that. And they'll say, oh my goodness, don't be silly. Life is whatever you make it. You just need to stay positive. You need to stay in the present. You just need to do this more, do this more, do this more. Lots of people will have fixes for everything. But for all of my life, I've had to be vigilant against feeling depressed. Depression, when I was 14 years old, almost ended my life. And so I've constantly struggled with every psychological tool I have to be able to maintain vigilance against, the dark side, the sort of inner demon, the inner dictator, right? That tries to drag me down, that shows me the world in a dark way. And some days I will struggle with feelings of darkness, but I have the tools to be able to help myself to handle them. But what's really important is to recognize I'm not alone. There's a lot of people that struggle and suffer. And it doesn't have to be depression. It could be crippling anxiety. It could be they're terrified of something, or they're very stressed about something, or they're overwhelmed, or they've been through a really rough patch. There's a whole host of different challenges that people have that we have no idea that are happening to people. There's a great story that Stephen Covey, author of the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, in I think the prologue or the intro, he talks about being on a train, and there was this father, and there was a bunch of kids with the father. The kids were like, jumping up and down and making a racket. And Stephen Covey said to the father, hey, listen, would you get your kids under control? And the father apologized and said, sorry, we just came from the hospital and their mother died. Now, obviously, Stephen Covey felt really bad because seconds earlier, he'd been judging the father for being a bad parent. And all of a sudden, information gave him a different context. But the reality is that just because people don't tell us their struggles doesn't mean that people aren't dealing with it. And so whenever I meet a person, and my first tendency is to judge them, I evaluate, are they trying their best? And the problem is that not only life is difficult, but our minds can make it even more difficult. Relationships themselves can be difficult. Right? And we're the products of the relationships that we've had. We're the product of the information that we bought into. So our models of the world, the way we see the world, is based upon what we've learned. And in most cases, the person is doing the best they can, given the circumstances, given the information, given the relationships that they have. They're doing the best that they can do, or they're doing the best that they think they can do. And our goal might be, in that context, to try to help them to believe in their ability to do more. Whenever I worked as a therapist, I would try to help people who are convinced that this was it for them, that they could believe better, that they could become better, that they could learn better, that they could become more successful. But the only way to do that is you start out with a belief that says, maybe it's possible, and then you work towards it. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect today, but ultimately when we judge people, we're not thinking about the internal struggle that they might be facing. You can still get a result and not deserve it. You can still not get a result, but do deserve it. You can still do the action, but not necessarily for the right reason, or you can still not do the action, but for the right reasons. You can still believe an idea and not be a bad person. You can still not believe an idea and still not be a bad person. And the more that we do that, the more we give other people the grace to be able to go, maybe they're dealing with a tough time. Maybe they're struggling with it. And this doesn't mean that we don't hold people accountable to their actions, to their beliefs, to the ideas that they espouse, right? If someone is speaking things or saying things that are inflammatory or are causing pain to other people, or are misogynistic or racist or horrible, or positioning people in really awful ways, that doesn't mean we don't hold them accountable. But we need to recognize that the more we try to understand people, the more equipped we'll be to be able to influence people. But as long as we just judge them as being dumb or immoral or lacking in value or lacking inherent worth, then we stop. We don't try. And if we don't try, we can't connect. If we can't connect, we can't communicate. If we can't communicate, we cannot heal the divide.